Here we go. Hello, Malcolm.
Hello,
All
Steph. How
right,
are
there you are. All right, congratulations on the book, sir. I hear it is. I just arrived. I almost had to cancel the show to read it.
you? Well, are you not crying?
I haven't started yet. I just got here. I'm
Oh,
very excited.
God, don't read it at night. Don't read it alone.
Okay.
I
All
read it
right.
again last weekend, the whole book, and I literally terrified myself
Yeah.
that we are in a
You,
world of hurt.
you scare the out of everybody. Well, as you know, I had an emergency text chain with you and Rob and Michelle Reiner this this weekend because
Yeah.
I just said, please tell me these mother are not going to get away with this because it has been a startling series of events, right? But around surrounding Kennedy and his son, and as you and I always say, like we're not conspiratorial. You're like you can't write these kind of plot twists, right?
Well, you can, but the thing with Kennedy and the Supreme Court, we knew that was coming. People were saying before the election that whoever wins may choose up to four Supreme Court justices,
No, but the
and we didn't.
right. But the timing
And
of him stepping down and his son's connection to Deutsche Bank, which of course,
yeah, that's a
right.
little suspicious. I mean, his son was part of the team that loaned Donald Trump $1 billion,
Yeah.
and that we should have known that. And had we known that, Justice Kennedy should have, pretty much recused himself against a lot of things. But look, now is not the time to despair. I know that I've just written the magnum opus of despair. Now is the time to rally. It's time to fight. And you hear a lot of people talking about, well, we've got to be civil and we can't do it their way. Well, no. Now is the time to understand the stakes, and that's what I wrote about in my book. The stakes are absolutely high this November, quite possibly terminal if we don't do this right.
Yeah. Well, of course the big thing I took from your text was in all caps. They are not going to get away with this, as you always tell us. Mueller is several months ahead of all the rest of us. Uh,
Right.
yeah.
Robert, well, if you look this morning, they're talking about Michael Cohen
Yeah.
is making signs that I think the phrase that was used this morning is he's half an arm's length from flipping.
Right, but
He,
Malcolm, because
yeah.
everything makes me suspicious now. We've been talking about this morning. What is your take on this? I mean, is this a Hail Mary to get a
Well,
pardon? Is he signaling because why is he talking about the fact that he's about to talk?
he can't get a pardon. I mean, he could go ahead and try to get the president to pardon him, but that means he would still have to admit to the things that he did that were a crime. There's been no charges filed yet.
Yeah.
So and also my favorite part for all of you who are skeptical, I live in New York State. Every one of these potential crimes was conducted in New York State, which
Right, but
means
they
they
just
are all prosecutable, and there are
right, but Malcolm,
harder penalties for white collar crime in New York State.
no, I got it, Malcolm, but isn't that what everybody's talking about? The first case the Supreme Court agreed to hear was double jeopardy after Kennedy's announcement that he could pardon on the state level. I mean, I don't know when or if there, but I'm just saying this is awfully suspicious. The timing of all of this, isn't it?
Well, this is the Republicans engineering things. I don't know if that's certainly the case that they're going to be able to take that up in time to
Yeah.
stop Michael Cohen being prosecuted.
Right.
And none of this stuff is grandfathered, by the way. So
Yeah.
if Michael Cohen flips or gets indicted and then takes a plea deal, anything that happens in the future is not going to affect him. And also he's going to have to talk.
Yeah.
So
Well, he
I
said
know. Yeah, go ahead.
go, he said, my wife, my daughter, my son have my first loyalty and always will. I put my family and country first. I'm like, wow, now a warning? Now you're country first? But yeah, okay.
Now a
That's
warning?
that sounded to me like it has been explained to him. It's very similar to the kind of statements that you would have expected from Aldrich Ames, the CIA spy, or Robert Haston, the FBI spy, because they actually kept their um their pensions, and they get let them keep those pensions so that their wives and children wouldn't be destitute. Then they pled guilty to espionage and spent the rest of their life in prison, right?
Yeah.
So I think that they have made it clear to him that he could probably get away with some of his money not being seized, his family being taken care of, and that if he doesn't come off of this as a patriot, he's coming off of this, as he said this morning, he's not the bad guy in this story. Well, Michael Avenatti was just on MSNBC and said, yeah, he's the bad guy in this story.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah.
the federal prosecutors are going to allow him a chance to play his role, to make up his role.
Well, yeah, he was asked directly what he would do if prosecutors forced him to choose between protecting the president, protecting his family. He said, "My family is my first priority. Once I understand what charges might be filed against me, if any at all, I'll defer to my new counsel." Um, but yeah, I just found it weird that he was talking about this now, right
Yeah.
before before actually flipping, before charges are filed.
Well, you know what? It would have been more powerful if he had done it on camera, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's saving that. His Hail Mary is done on camera. Trump doesn't believe in anything that he doesn't see on television, right?
Yeah,
So, for the most part, he's putting that message out there. He's got a new legal team, a legal team that is essentially going to be talking to Mueller and the Southern District of New York. But I don't think that he has any chance of a Hail Mary. He's way too dirty. And the only thing he could do is give the people up the chain of command, and you know who that is.
yeah. Well, and obviously, the other news this morning is Mueller has the likely the NRA tax returns, right, in terms of right the illegal Russian money funneled through them.
Yeah, yeah. And if you go to I actually have a whole chapter in the book called "The American Beachhead." It's how the Russians actually got into and bought the conservatives, and it goes through evangelicals on the left hand and the National Rifle Association on the right hand. The woman who created this Russian NRA group, Marina Butina, called Right to Bear Arms, and all she does is, took pictures of herself posing with Kalashnikovs. She was a furniture saleswoman in Siberia, and she was brought to Moscow to establish Right to Bear Arms, then sent to the United States, where she lives now. She's a student I think she's a student at George Washington University in D.C., or American
Yeah,
University, and all she does is shill for the Kremlin and be the liaison to the NRA, and that money is dirty. I wrote an entire maybe about 20 pages on this or so, but they really bought into the Trump campaign and may have funneled illegal funds right into his campaign through the NRA, and that will turn them into a criminal organization.
yeah. Well, I mean, Malcolm, as I was saying earlier in the show, like, how much more obvious does this have to be, right? I mean, it is. He's meeting with Putin alone. We got that news from the Kremlin. He is trashing NATO. He is. What else did he say? Oh, they, should probably have Crimea because they speak Russian. Oh, he tells me they didn't meddle in the election. I mean, once again, trying this, he said NATO is as bad as NAFTA. It's too costly for us. I mean, how much more clearly could he be doing Vladimir Putin's bidding?
Well, yeah, again, I have a whole chapter on why he's doing Putin's bidding. Let me tell you, the Russians, you have to give them credit. They have framed this guy up, and I don't mean in the traditional sense of the word. They actually have a co-option strategy where they will immerse you in a bubble of information that they want you to believe. And once you have been co-opted into that world, everything that comes out of your mouth, you think it's yours, but it's actually theirs. And when Trump went to the Nobu restaurant in November 2013 and met with the 12 richest oligarchs of Russia, he came out spouting this line. The question is, as president of the United States, with all the information we have, why would he keep insisting on this? Because he believes it. He believes these people are his base. Russia is his base. And as I said on television, he will never betray his base. He is so in debt to Moscow that he is essentially the lead advocate for Moscow. And so, I was on C-SPAN the other day. I was asked if this is treason. No, it is technically not treason, but it is absolutely a betrayal to the oath of office, to the Constitution of the United States. And it's criminal. And I'm going to leave it up to the special counsel to
Yeah.
determine how criminal. But
Well, I mean,
go ahead.
yeah. I mean, did you read this headline? Russian state TV brags about how the country elected Trump. I mean,
Yes.
if we could be a bigger laughingstock on the world stage, a presenter on Russian state TV has sparked outrage by, quote unquote, jokingly claiming the country was behind the election of Donald Trump. What trouble did we cause? We just elected Trump. That's all. Um, and the audience laughs, right? I mean, it just
Right.
between us getting duped by North Korea, which anybody could have seen coming, Stuttering John getting through to Trump on Air Force One. I mean, you literally every day, Malcolm, don't think how much longer can this go on? We
Well,
are
it
in
will.
danger.
Well, we are in danger. And that was my entire message from this book. And it's going to be all you're going to hear from me until something breaks here. This nation is in mortal peril, not just regular danger. We are literally, quite possibly, months away from losing American democracy forever. Because once it goes, it's not coming back. I'm not usually an alarmist guy, but like I said, I read my own book. And all of those things that you mentioned were in there. Right after the election, there were 5 or 6 major Russian political figures who admitted that they worked with WikiLeaks, who admitted that they put Trump in office, who were bragging about how Trump was going to be doing raising the sanctions and taking everything off Russia and how he sees their worldview. I spell out in there precisely where and how he got that worldview. And he believes Russia's interest is his interest, which means he owes something to Russia. And
Right.
if we don't mobilize, if we don't get together now as a nation, everyone who didn't vote for Donald Trump, all right, we have to do that this fall. We have to have a national mobilization. We should be hitting the streets at every opportunity, and we have to prevent the destruction of democracy. And that's why my hashtag is hashtag save democracy.
Yeah.
And I'm not encouraging people to go buy my book, Steffi, just for fun. I'm encouraging it
Yeah.
because one, if it's #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, it's in Trump's face. It's
Yeah.
in the face of every conservative out there.
Yeah.
And my book is nothing but a warning to you that we are at the end of this game.
Yeah.
Other
Well,
than that,
no,
it's
I
just
mean,
fun.
it could not be more important. It is not overstated. And Malcolm, you have also said, talked about the possibility of civil war. And look at what's happening. We have him attacking the press as the enemy of the people. You have a right wing Milo Yiannopoulos saying, I hope, when someone going to start gunning down journalists. Someone does, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it is. I'm just, and it is, we are really at kind of a fever pitch, I think, aren't we?
Well, it's getting there. Look, the average American doesn't see or care about any of this. And that's the problem. It's, somebody, when I was on C-SPAN last Friday, which was great fun, by the way, I only had 2 crazies, which I was a little disappointed at. But then I found that they were all on Twitter. I had hundreds of comments of people going at me on Twitter. The regular part of this nation is going about their daily business, and Trump obfuscates it so well. He just blatantly, flat out lies on television so that you get 2 sides. And the biggest problem is our side does not want to fight. And when I
Yeah.
mean fight, I mean we have to fight with emotion.
Thank
You know,
you.
I mean, I'm emotional now because again, I read my own freaking book and I freaked myself out.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
I mean, Europe's
I
almost completely under Moscow's control, and now here's Trump wanting to pull out of the WTO. We
thank
freaking
you.
invented it. The NATO, we invented it. He is literally here to destroy the international order.
Yeah.
And American democracy, as you know it, is
Yes.
now up for grabs.
Thank you. I mean, Malcolm, you can't state it any better than that. And I have said, I started the show by saying exactly what you were saying is we have to fight harder and better on our side. We got to have Maxine Waters back. We should have had
Yep.
Al Franken's
Yep.
back.
Yep.
Obama should have talked about Russia during the screw Mitch McConnell. We should have been in the streets to get Merrick Garland confirmed. I mean, it's just, you're right. And I feel like I've said this before, former, Republicans like you, like Nicole Wallace, like Steve Schmidt, I think are more passionate and speak with more urgency because you see not only your former party going into the dustbin of history, but this whole country, our democracy.
Well, as you know, I was a Colin Powell type Republican, just
Right.
national security strong and socially liberal.
Right.
Now that's considered against the left wall, right?
Right.
Ronald Reagan would be like at Nancy Pelosi's level. if history were any guidepost.
Well, right, and
But
they keep saying, "Oh, is the Democratic Party moving too far to the left?" I'm like, I don't know.
no,
You have Nazis on the right in the streets, like you.
and no one will call that out. No
Right.
one will actually say it. Steve Schmidt doesn't. Let me tell you, they have their sights on Steve Schmidt. Okay, the alt right views him as public enemy number one, right up there with Joy Reid and believe it or not, Joe Scarborough. Anyone who can credibly put out a contrary message, they want to destroy.
Yep.
And what we have now in the media is we are having our Edward R. Murrow moment, right? Our good night and good luck moment.
Yep.
Because it's getting to the point where it's good night and good luck. So people are asking me every day. People stop me in the streets all day, every day, asking me, what do we do? And it's very simple. You have to be your own personal mobilization machine.
Yep.
You have to put the word out. You need to get people together, recruit them, get them registered, and the easiest thing we can do is vote early, right?
Right.
Vote early.
Well, this is the thing. When Republicans and Democrats say there is an eerie silence, they're doing nothing to protect us from Russian hacking in the 2018.
Right.
Malcolm, all we can do is turn out in such huge numbers that they can't, you know?
They said that we need 9% more turnout than the Republicans to break even and win the House, right? We could easily mobilize 100% of what was mobilized in the 2016 election. That's 65 million people. That's usually in midterms, you only get like 30% of the vote. We could waive this thing, but this year needs to be treated like a presidential election.
Yep.
And that's why I'm out screaming now.
Yep.
Okay.
Malcolm, we're running really long. Real quick,
Right.
so the FBI arrested a man. They say he was plotting a July 4th attack in
Yeah.
Cleveland. I assume that's not a Democrat hoax, or which I assume that's a.
No, the problem is you're going to be hearing about it all the time. You know, the president's going to get a hold of it. It was a guy, black guy. He was recruited by what he thought was ISIS and Al Qaeda, and expressed an interest to carry out an attack. Just remember, for all you would-be wannabe jihadists, when you're talking to ISIS and Al Qaeda, you're talking to the FBI.
Right.
They rolled him up, no threat.
But I mean, Trump is going to take credit for this, I'm sure, and go, "Oh, see, these are the good FBI guys. These aren't. These are the hoax guys over here that are prosecuting me." But everybody else, yeah,
absolutely. And we warned about that. But again, okay, Steffi, like you said, this is our last chance for this thing, and I got to emphasize this one last time. Go freaking buy my book. All right, I'm not making any money, so.
The Plot to Destroy Democracy. Get it. Tweet it. Go buy it. Go buy it for someone.
Review it.
Yep. Review it and tweet it. Malcolm, thanks for coming on so we didn't miss you this Wednesday.
Oh, great. Thank you for having me on.
All right. Thank you, honey. See you next week.